It is 7 p.m., so I would
No,
like...
we're not on yet.
Oh,
We're on.
okay. It is 7 p.m., so I would like to call this meeting of the Town Council to order on April 5th, 2023. We'll begin, as always, with the Pledge of Allegiance. Councillor White, would you lead us in that pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And all councillors are present. And first, to begin, I would accept a motion to seal the minutes of our non-public session.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
And,
Sorry. He seconded it.
and would you call the roll, please?
Council Brayback?
Aye.
Council Lamatina?
Aye.
Council Dornblue?
Aye.
Council White?
Aye.
Council Blackstone?
Aye.
Council Ward?
Aye.
Council Conley?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Okay. So this is the start of a new session, and so the first thing we have to do is elect new officers. So the first officer assignment is to elect a chair. So I would accept nominations for the town council chair.
I nominate you.
Do you have to say your name?
Oh, Councilor Conley. Yeah.
Second.
Are there other nominations for chair? Okay.
In that situation, just a roll call vote saying aye or nay.
Okay. So if you could call the roll.
Council Brayback?
Aye.
Council Lamatina?
Aye.
Council Dornblue?
Aye.
Council White?
Aye.
Council Blackstone?
Aye.
Council Ward?
Aye.
Council Conley?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. Then, okay, I'll keep the paper. Excellent. Okay. So the next assignment would be to elect a vice chair. Do I have nominations for vice chair?
I'd like to nominate Councillor Ward for vice chair.
I'll second.
Excellent. Are there any other nominations for vice chair? Okay. One of you could call the roll, please.
Council Brayback?
Aye.
Council Lamatina?
Aye.
Council Dornblue?
Aye.
Council White?
Aye.
Council Blackstone?
Aye.
Council Ward?
Aye.
Council Conley?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Okay, the next thing is committee assignments. And because we are still waiting for a new counselor to be appointed, might recommend that we wait on committee assignments until we get that appointment. And then we do have a vacancy on the town council. And so I will turn it over to you, Manager Fournier.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just to give an update on what the process was. So, as everyone may be aware that during the election there were 2 seats that were uncontested. Councilor Blackstone was re-elected, and there was an individual who was elected to one of the 2 seats. That individual declined the seat. The town clerk then immediately declares that seat vacant because that individual declined it. Council Dornblue got the most write-in votes for the 2nd seat. Actually, sorry, there's a number of people who were tied for the 2nd seat. Some people did not want it. And then the town clerk drew lots, which is by state law. And Council Dornblue, name was drawn and agreed to serve and that will be for the 1-year term. And that seat will be up again for next year. I'm sorry, no, that's a 3-year term.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm getting my numbers mixed up. So what we have now is the vacancy that was the vacancy will be appointed by the town council. That individual will serve for 1 year until next April, after the election. So next year you'll have the normal election and a special election for the remainder of that seat. It says that you must, after having the vacancy, you have to fill it the next meeting. So what we've always done before is accept letters of interest in the town clerk's office at a certain time, which would be, say, next Thursday at noon, that individuals could submit letters of interest to serve on the council. And then the following meeting, you would be acting on the I think a few of you have actually gone through the process. He'd be acting on that at the next council meeting. Any questions on, when we were looking at the charter, it states that councils shall serve until their successor is chosen. So they do not leave as soon as their term is up. They have to wait till somebody else takes their seat. So we
Unless
asked,
they resign first.
unless they
So the
resign
town
first, there
should
wasn't
step
out.
forward.
So I did approach former Councilor Weinstein and Councilor Brayback and let them determine who is going to step aside. And Councilor Brayback has agreed to serve until such time as the council fills the vacancy. And that's where we are.
Thank you, Manager Fournier. Okay, so next item on our agenda is public forum. Is there anyone from the town who wishes to speak?
Good evening, everybody. I'm Al Zink, 22 Smith Garrison Road. I had the great pleasure of sitting where you sat, where you now sit, believe it or not, 16 years ago. Served with Tony for a while. And then had the pleasure of sitting on the school board for 2 terms after that. I know the responsibility you folks have. I know the hard work you've got. And sincerely thank you for what you're about to receive. As I mentioned, 9 years ago, I joined the school board shortly after the shootings in Sandy Hook. I think most of you know I've written to you. And the school board was very concerned, obviously, with our school situation. We had the old school at the time, no security, and it was a devastating moment for the school board because we didn't have any experience. So we asked the police department to come, it was actually held in this room, to tell us what we should do. What are the immediate things we need to do? And they made, I think, 6 or 7 suggestions. And we fulfilled 5 of them. We couldn't fulfill one of them because it was a logistical situation, knowing the new school was coming up. But we put aside several $100,000 that week to get things underway. The situation that didn't directly affect the school was this council chambers that we're sitting in now. And what the police said to us was, if an intruder were to come to this door, oh wow, if the intruder would come to this door, I feel like I'm on Jeopardy. I better hurry up. If an intruder would come to this door, there's no place for people to get out. And that's just a hugely significant problem. At that point, 9 years ago, I met with Steve and we started putting together some plans as to how to make that happen. And we looked at things like fire escapes and so forth. Unfortunately, in the past 9 years, we're still in the same predicament we were in 9 years ago. The town has taken 2 actions. One of them was to use that, what I call the hidden door. And it's meant primarily for council members to get out in case of an intruder. It's not a fire door. It can't be a fire door. The police chiefs, 3 of them, and the current fire chief all agree that this room could be made considerably safer with a fire escape. It doesn't have one. If there's a fire right there, we're cooked. Try to open these windows, that's your only form of escape, and before you leave, try to open one of those. Imagine this room being full of kids, elderly people, people that are physically handicapped. It's a firebox. We also found out that despite the fact that it's a fire danger that, oh crap.
And
Um,
I'm afraid your 3 minutes are up, Mr. Zink. I'm so sorry.
I'm sorry?
I said your 3 minutes are up. I'm so sorry.
Wow.
Is there anyone from the public who wishes to speak?
Hi, Tony Weinstein, 275 Ash Swamp Road. So I'm here for a couple of reasons this evening for public comment. And I first wanted to talk a little bit about the roadside cleanup that I sponsor pretty much annually, for the last 9-ish years. This year it's going to be Sunday, April 30th from 10 to 1. People can pick up bags and road assignments at the bandstand during that time, and there's no need to pre-register. So that's one of those questions that people often ask. You can just show up, and I will give you some bags and a road assignment and let you know where we have the most litter. So I'm hoping that being on Main Street will be at the bandstand. I'm hoping that being on Main Street will bring some awareness to the event, and then also to the real problem of litter that we have on our streets. It's anyone who has noticed the receding snowbanks, especially if you drive like our rural roads, you'll see all the cans and bottles and just general litter that we have. So this past fall, I sponsored a cleanup just because of timing, but early spring is the ideal time before the poison ivy grows in. That's what we have found, and it will be held rain or shine. The second reason that I'm here is to share my concerns about the proposed change of the council rules to go to just one meeting per month. I'm a little disappointed that I didn't get the chance to discuss this when I was on that side of the dais, but because I certainly would have voted against it. We currently have such a well-run administration, and it is so well-run that this can even be considered. And so everyone should thank the town manager for that. Meetings prior, back in the day, I came to lots of town meetings, or lots of town council meetings, and meetings regularly went past 10 o'clock. Currently, meetings are 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour seems like a really long meeting. And again, that's thanks to the current administration and our current department heads for making sure that the information that you all receive is concise and thorough, and just making sure that you have the right information. 2 short meetings every month is not too much to ask. And not just 2, I know that there are 2 short town council meetings and then also a committee meeting. And it's, I think, well within what we expect of our elected representatives. So I would urge you all to vote against the proposed resolution. So I also have a poster for the cleanup, which I will, as long as there's no objection, I will post outside this evening.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak? If not, then we will close public forum at 7:14. Okay. The next item on our agenda is a public hearing on ordinance number 4, 2223, an ordinance to amend Chapter 30 for traffic and vehicles. And I'll turn this over to the town manager.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As Council Blackstone introduced an ordinance that would allow for 15-minute parking on Central Street. It's been a goal for Council Blackstone, so what we'll do is allow people to run into businesses quickly and come back out. that's the information, and then you can open the public hearing.
Okay. So we'll open the public hearing on ordinance number 4. Is there anyone who wishes to speak about this ordinance? Okay, if not, we will close the public hearing on this at 7:15. Okay, we have a few public hearings. The second one is on ordinance number 5, 2223, and that is to amend Chapter 14-21, Fees of the Municipal Code of the Town of Newmarket, New Hampshire, to include a new system for development change connection fee system for water and sewer. And
I'm gonna sit down. Excuse me. Well, good evening, councilors. My name is Barbara. I'm the Director of Planning and Community Development. I'm here today to present a ordinance amendment to change the fee schedule for water and sewer. So just a little background on this. The town has been looking over the past few years based on a report that was done in 2011 by Bruce Mayberry on how the town can better utilize its funds to maintain and expand its infrastructure from a water sewer perspective. The current way it's done is through impact fees, and then also there's some other fees as well, but specifically impact fees, and we want to change that because impact fees can only be used in certain instances, like expansion of infrastructure. You have to have a nexus between the development and the impact fee and the improvement that would help the development. Whereas a system development charge, you can use that more fungibly. So you can improve infrastructure based on the fee. You can expand it, you can maintain it. There's just a lot of different ways you're able to use the money. So really the idea is to put the town in a better position to use its money and its funds, so it can improve its infrastructure and really definitely utilize it. That's the short answer. Is there any questions? I did write a staff report.
Council asked questions during.
Oh, excuse me, yeah. Yeah, so there's another thing I need to request from the council as well. If the council does end up changing the impact fees, I need a recommendation from the council to the plan board to change the impact fee schedule. This is the second part of this amendment, and they will have a public hearing on that as well. And through this change, we call it the fee schedule is a buy-in. So really, it's I think it's the most equitable way we try to assess the fee. It pays for existing infrastructure, or it counts for users who already pay for infrastructure, the town has already paid for infrastructure, and it came up with a number. And that number for water is 17.29 gallons per day for a water buy-in fee, and then for a wastewater buy-in fee is 19.26. So again, based on the assessment that Wright Pierce and Bruce Mayberry and Director Greg did, they thought this is the best way forward in a most equitable way to move forward and help the town maintain and improve its infrastructure. Thank you.
okay. So with that, we will open the public hearing. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to speak on this ordinance? Okay, we will close the public hearing then at 7:19.
Excuse me.
Forget something?
Thank you, Ben.
Thanks.
Okay. And finally, we have a public hearing on item C, Ornica Bornstein, the Arts, Culture, Tourism Commission, membership removal deliberation. And I will turn this again over to the town manager.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As the council is aware, you received a letter from the chair of the Arts Commission informing the council that Ms. Bornstein has not been present for the last 6 meetings for medical reasons, which she reported on November 3rd, 2022. According to town ordinance, that is grounds to have removal from the committee. Since there was no letter of resignation received after being asked from the commission voted unanimously at the January 3rd to request the replacement of Annika on the commission from the town council. So the ordinance is that the town council has to hold a public hearing to accept input either which way, and then decide whether or not to remove the individual or let the individual stay. The town clerk did send a certified letter, and it was signed for about the hearing this evening. So the individual was aware of it.
Okay, so then we will open the public hearing. Is there anyone who wishes to speak on this issue? Okay, then if not, we will close the public hearing on this at 7:21.
So this is where the council gets to determine the next steps with Ms. Bornstein. Either they can take no action and they remain on the commission, or they could make a motion to remove the individual.
And so we need a motion either way, or do we just need a motion to remove? Okay,
I'd like to make a motion to remove Ms. Bornstein from the Arts, Culture, and Tourism Commission.
do we have a second?
I'll second.
And is there any discussion or questions? Counselor Braywick.
Yeah, I just want to, having worked with Ms. Bornstein when she was able to attend, we were so grateful for her energy and her participation, and it was just very unfortunate that the timing didn't work for her to continue to serve. And so just that, I wish her all the best, but I think that it has been a significant amount of time, well beyond those 6 meetings at this point, and so I think it's time to open up that spot for someone who's able to participate.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, if you could call the roll, please.
Council Brayback?
Aye.
Council Lamatina?
Aye.
Councilor Dornblu?
Aye.
Councilor White?
Aye.
Council Blackstone?
Aye.
Councilor Ward?
Aye.
Council Conley?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Okay. We are cooking with gas now. So item 6 on the agenda is to accept to consider acceptance of the minutes from the March 15th and 2023 meeting. So I would accept a motion to approve those minutes.
So move.
I'll second.
Excellent. And any comments, changes, or discussion? Nothing, Joe?
Nope.
Okay.
I read it.
Okay, then if you could call the roll, please.
Council Brayback?
Aye.
Council Lamatina?
Aye.
Council Dornblu?
Aye.
Council White?
Aye.
Council Blackstone?
Aye.
Council Ward?
Aye.
Council Conley?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Awesome. And item number 7 on the agenda tonight is the report of the town manager.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The first items on my written report is I've received some comments from town councilors regarding enforcement action taken by the code enforcement officer regarding signs recently. Our ordinance does not allow certain types of signs that were mentioned in Zone B1. 2 businesses were approached and asked to remove those signs. There is a legal process to follow that when somebody has a sign violation, that the individuals have 21 days after notice of violation to appeal to the Zoning Board of Adjustment or Superior Court. Town council doesn't have a role in this situation. Finally, if the council wishes to rewrite the ordinance, our laws requires that it's a submission to the planning board. Other than changes to zoning ordinance proposed by the planning board, all requests for amendments to the zoning ordinance which shall be presented to the town council shall be referred to the planning board for its consideration first. The planning board shall submit its recommendations concerning such requests to the council within 90 days after the referral has been made by the town council. That's been an ordinance. I know we've been looking at with the historic district as well, that we had to follow that process. There was a question whether or not we could change the law for one lot. This is just a heads up for the public. No, that's considered something called spot zoning, and that's illegal in New Hampshire. So just a little planning background on the law for everybody. The next was at the request of Councilor Makina. He wanted to know about PFAS and their testing in our water, wastewater, and solid waste. According to the Director of Environmental Services, I'm just going to go with PFAS. I'm not going to try to pronounce the actual scientific term for it. Are a group of chemicals used to make fluoropolymer coatings and products that resist heat, oil, grease, and water. These products include clothing, furniture, carpets, adhesives, food packaging, heat-resistant non-stick cooking surfaces, and the insulation of electric wire. PFAS and PFOA chemicals are concerned because they do not break down in water, can move through soils and contaminate drinking water and build up in fish and wildlife. The town of Newmarket water supply has been tested for both PFAS and PFOA chemicals. No PFAS or PFOA chemicals have been detected in Newmarket's water supplies. Newmarket wastewater and waste solids have been tested for PFAS and PFOA chemicals. Both wastewater and waste solids have PFAS and PFOA chemicals that are below the New Hampshire DES service established limit. This is normal because that's the outflow, and it's treated later. So we do not have any of it in our drinking water. Some other communities may, but we do not. The next item is that on Sunday, March 26th, now former Council Weinstein, the Director of Planning and Community Development, a number of representatives from the business community, and I welcomed about 50 people from around the country taking part in the Main Street America Conference in Boston to downtown Newmarket. They toured the Newmarket Mills and visited businesses along Main Street. We heard rave reviews for our community. It was quite interesting to see everybody from around the country come in for that situation. Just a couple things on my unwritten report. We are working more, moving forward with renovating the Arbor Park in downtown. We're getting some prices now. We're trying to hammer down the prices and determine how to pay for it, as always. We should have something before the council shortly. To go along with that, we since the announcement of the renaming, creation of the Leo Fillion Park, we were approached by Chimberg Builders, and they will be providing us with funds to hire a landscape architect for the park. So they're going to be working with us on that and funding some of that. And the Community Development Director is going to be meeting with representatives from there, so I just want to say publicly thank you to Chimberg Builders for that contribution to the town. The next item is that traditionally at this meeting I go over the roles of the counselors and the right to know law and those kind of. I'm going to wait till the next one so we can have everybody in the room at the same time with the new counselor coming on board. And finally, I know Mr. Zink started bringing it up in his comments, but I just want to finish his thoughts with the letter. We did receive a letter from him after the deadline for the last meeting. I just want to finish it, some of the things he was saying. That I'll start it with, and you've all received the letter, that besides the door, we provide an opportunity of people sitting on the dais, a form of escape from the intruder, but not for fire. The town also confirmed if there was a fire and occupants were either injured or sadly died, ensured to cover the loss. Not much of a comfort to the family in either case. He takes no pleasure in criticizing myself. He believes I'm good for the town, but in opinion, a failure to address this is unacceptable. Immediate option to relocate council chambers to the basement auditorium. The auditorium has two wide exit doors constructed of steel. The exits beyond the doors are also wide and lead immediately to the street. The doors are marked with lighted exit signs, which he believes means they're proof fire exit. In addition, the Newmarket just constructed a brand new combination cafeteria auditorium at the high school with every audiovisual amenity available. Citizen support for this auditorium was gained by presenting it as a community space, not just limited for school use. There's every fire life safety requirement built into the new space. In fact, a better solution. In any case, he believes that the community should be aware of this serious matter. He, for one, would not want to allow a family member to attend a meeting. Council chambers is now in the hands of the community to evaluate the situation and make decisions accordingly. As the council is aware, we did have the police chief, fire chief, as well as the police lieutenant, Cookish, had a reply, and to the letter and wrote to the council. And that the council doesn't mind, I just put it in the record as well. We've received a letter from Mr. Zink on March 14th, 2023. We've been working closely with Mr. Zink regarding safety concerns for Town Hall and take them very seriously. To address these concerns, we've already taken several measures, including the creation of a second means of egress out of council chambers. Our initial evaluation of the room's safety has led us to believe that it is safe with adequate life safety escape options in the event of emergency. We've also had a safety expert from insurance carrier Primex review the meeting space, and he too feels that we have met the necessary safety requirements. We understand that when it comes to civic spaces, finding a balance between safety and public access is crucial. While public buildings can never be impenetrable, we have completed significant upgrades over the years to enhance security and safety within Town Hall, and specifically the council chambers. In addition to the second means of egress, we've installed panic buttons integrated into our security system, as well as other improvements that are not for public release. Our primary goal is to ensure that people filling our facilities feel safe. If any board or committee does not feel secure using the council chambers, we would encourage them to schedule their meetings in the auditorium or another town facility. We are currently undertaking a town-wide facility study with a specific focus on Town Hall and the police department. Security is a key element of the study, and we believe that this would be an appropriate time to review and consider further life safety improvements even further. We take security very seriously, but not put anyone in the position where they're not safe. We believe that we made great progress ensuring everybody's safety while attending meetings, and will continue to do so. And signed the chief of police, the fire chief, police lieutenant, and myself. And that is all I have tonight, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Councilor Martina.
In your report, there was a line item about a fireworks contract?
Yes.
What is that?
So Backyard Bash, that was a success for the rec department last year. We'll be having fireworks this coming year.
Yeah.
So they're going to be having, yeah. Hopefully it's going to be an annual thing. I know our 300th anniversary and the 250th anniversary of the country are coming up. So hopefully we'll have bigger ones for that situation.
Thank you. Councilor Dornblum.
Just a quick question on the facility study. What's the timeline on that, and will there be a report? And
Yeah.
yeah,
So the facility study is we basically kicking off with internally now. The company that we hired is meeting department heads to discuss needs, and hopefully we should be having a study completed by August. And then it'll give us a plan of attack on how to address the situations. So part of it is what's the need for this building and where we may be or may not be in this facility. For example, this could turn into office space. There is a shortage of office space. And yeah.
so there will be recommendations.
Absolutely.
As part of the, okay.
Yep.
And Councilor Blackstone.
So is it the opinion of the fire chief that this room is fully compliant with all fire regulations?
I will look at him in the.
Okay, thank you.
Any other question? Okay, then we will move on to committee reports. Are there any committee reports this evening? Councilor Lamatino.
The Energy and Environment Committee had their first public hearing on community power. Wasn't a whole lot of people there, but it went very well. We have our second public hearing coming up in the middle of April, and shortly after that, we'll have a resolution to the town to vote on whether to approve the electric aggregation bill.
Thank you. Other committee reports? Councilor Blackstone.
On the planning board, they're directly, if you take Grant Road and you go across Main Street, there's a property there, there's like a yellow house and a lot of clear land. There's a proposal to put a 55-plus community there. This plan has attracted a lot of interest from the neighboring community, and in our public forum, we probably had 50 people or 25, the room was full, who were objecting to this development. And it's simply in a concept stage right now, but it's probably something you'll hear about maybe because it seems to be very controversial. There was a project on Bennett Way that's been around for a while, and that we finally did all the, you know, the cost the T's and dotted the I's, and they're hoping to start in the spring, but they will definitely be starting by late fall or early next year. That's it.
Do you have a sense of what the nature of the objections were to the 55+ community? Was there a consensus? Kind of.
There were kind of two main objections. One, it's a 3-story large building that they felt that it will be very close to the, I mean, relatively close to the front of the road. If you're familiar with the property, you'll know there's a little stream running through there. So there's a lot of unbuildable land in there because it's wetlands, right? So the only place that you can really build is pretty close to that yellow house on the right-hand side, right? So they feel that doesn't fit into the community because it's a very large building. They're worried about traffic. Interestingly, the state of New Hampshire did a traffic study and said that there is no traffic issue on Main Street in Newmarket, even with that community. One of the things they cite is that 55+ communities tend to have like 0.8 cars per apartment. That a lot of people don't drive. The other was that the sidewalk doesn't go that far, even though the sidewalk's on the other side of the street. It only goes like to the first elementary school driveway, and this is, you know, all the way up, almost, you know, almost to Grant Road, right? So there's a little section in there, and they were just worried about traffic, and mostly it was concerned about the, you know, plopping a big building in the middle of a residential area.
Thank you. Do you have a question or another committee report?
Another committee.
Excellent. Councilor White.
All right. The CIP committee met on the 28th. We've been working on a new draft CIP form, which we are hoping will make the process easier with more space for people to write out what each project is, and we added a specific section where people are supposed to explain how it relates back to our master plan. We're also working on BART is working on a master list of ongoing CIP projects, so in the future we can take a look and see what's already ongoing and what needs to be funded and what's new. We also are trying to hope to promote more awareness of the meeting among citizens so they could bring forward ideas about possible CIP projects. And I believe we also wanted to talk a little bit to Steve at some point, the county manager at some point, about where we fit into the process of where CIP really fits in the process to make sure we're doing our jobs, you know, most effectively. So.
Thank you. Any other committee reports? Okay. At this time, can I turn it back over to the
Yes.
town manager?
My apologies,
Okay,
I don't know
for part
why I
two.
missed this.
For part 2 of the report of the town manager.
Let's see. As everyone's aware, we did have, well, one parting town councilor, one somewhat parting town councilor. And it's tradition that we present the parting town councilors with tokens of our appreciation for serving. So I'd ask former Councilor Weinstein to come up, and Councilor Braybeck. And we trust that.
Wow, thought I was gonna have to wait.
No. Do you want to present them?
Sure.
And these are clocks, and town seal, to honor them and say thank you.
Nice.
So you want to, Tricia, you go down there and shake their hand. And
Okay. I'll let you go first.
if the councilors have anything to say, the former councilors.
I do. So I think that it was fitting for me to sort of bookend my time on the council with public comment. Um, prior to serving on the council, I sat in the audience at, oh thank God, there's no clock there. It's really, it's like being on the Oscars.
No, there's a clock right there.
Right, yeah.
There's two of them.
But prior to my time on the council, I sat in the audience and at probably at least for a year, I think, at every town council meeting and most school board meetings, some budget committee meetings. I often spoke, sometimes very emotionally, about whatever it was that I felt I needed to talk about. And so the subject of engagement has really been on my mind a lot, especially with the fact that there were, and it's not just this year, it's been, multiple years now, where there just haven't been candidates for the council. I don't know what the answer is. I know that over the years I've tried different things. When prior to me being a counselor, I started a blog. I did that for a few years. As a counselor, we did the conversations with the counselor for maybe like a year and a half, and then COVID hit, so we had to stop that. Although that was pretty well received. I even tried my hand at podcasting. That was really not very good. But back in the day, it was often just me and the reporter, and now there's no reporter. So, Brian. So I don't know, again, I don't know what the answer is, but it's something for all of us to solve. It's certainly not a council problem. I think it's a community problem. And I hope to continue to find ways to engage the community and certainly to engage with the council. And I think that you can probably expect to see me in the audience at some of your, if not all of your meetings, because I've also discovered trivia, which they do at the Stone Church and Riverworks on Wednesday nights. So I'm doing that as well. But anyway, I will be here at some meetings and hope to see you. Thank you.
I'm still on the town council, so I won't talk for too long. But I am just so glad that I had the opportunity. I joined sort of in a situation like we're in now, where there was an opening and it was up to the town council to approve someone as opposed to running. And I will say to the public that I found that much less intimidating than running for office. And so if anyone's feeling any sort of way about it, I hope they'll step forward. But I had lived very differently than Tony said. I had only lived in town for about 9 months when the opportunity came about. So I was very new to town. It was August of 2020, so the very first thing I was asked to do after swearing in was to vote on a mask mandate. But it was a really great way to feel a sense of purpose in a time that was really challenging, and feel like I got to give back to the town and learn so much about the town. Even being new and not necessarily having as much expertise about our town's specific issues. So I've just really appreciated my service. I think most people know the reason that I'm not running for another term is that I am expecting a child to appear magically and painlessly this summer. But I do hope that once life evens out a bit more, that I will be back involved on committees or something in the future. So just thank you all for your support.
Okay. So the next item on our agenda are resolutions or ordinances in the second reading. And item number A is ordinance number 4, 2023, and ordinance to amend Chapter 30 for traffic and vehicles. Do I have a motion to approve this ordinance?
I'll make a motion.
And do I have a second?
I'll second.
And is there any discussion? Councilor Lyson?
I would just like to, I introduced this legislation, and the reason for it is Central Street is, the corner of Central and Main Street is where the Crack Skulls Cafe is, which is along the side of Crack Skulls Cafe. It's very common for people to park there temporarily and run in and get something. Eat, and not just in Crack Skulls, but the chicken place, whatever, that's chicken, what's it,
Wing
Wings
It's.
It or Wings, I
Wing
always
It's.
Winged it.
It's, right, Wing It's, yeah, I always say Wing It. And, you know, all the way down, maybe even to Johnny Boston, but, because if it's raining out, as you know, there's no parking in Newmarket. And if you're really just trying to just get something quickly, people have traditionally parked there. That's, you know, it's widely known within the area, it's just someplace you can stop and park. And so I wanted to have two official spots that were 15 minutes, so that you could park there and you could access someplace in the town, pick up your stuff, and then leave. And that, you know, parking in Newmarket is a major issue. And, you know, one of the things that we do not currently have is short-term parking.
Any other comments or discussion? Counselor Brayback.
So is this for one spot or two spots?
The street.
The whole street?
Oh, the whole street. I
Where it's
asked for
safe-
two.
Where it's
Okay.
safe, yes. I mean, if it's not safe, they won't paint it, but it's.
Yeah.
So they'll go down and they'll paint wherever is safe. So however many spots that
Yep.
is.
Oh,
Okay.
that's terrific.
Thank you.
Thank you for asking.
Other comments or questions?
No, I just think it's a great idea. Thank you for thinking of it.
Well, it's like, he parks there and a lot of, you know, so
I
it's
see.
commonly, I park
Pointing
there.
fingers.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah, everybody parks there. It's a widely known spot.
Counselor
Okay.
Blackstone.
Then, Wendy, if you could call the roll, please.
Counselor Brayback?
Aye.
Counselor Lamatina?
Aye.
Counselor Dornblut?
Aye.
Counselor White?
Aye.
Counselor Blackstone?
Aye.
Counselor Ward?
Aye.
Counselor Conley?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is ordinance number 5, 2023, amend chapter 14-2020, or 121, fees of the municipal code of the town of Newmarket, New Hampshire, to include a new system development charge connection fee system for water and sewer. Do I have a motion to approve that ordinance?
I'll make the motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
And are there any comments or discussion?
The Director of Environmental Services and the Community Development Director are here if you have questions.
Councilor Lamatino.
I was a little confused, so the ordinance covers two things, really, right? There's the water and sewer rates, and then there's the impact fees. Is that?
This has nothing to do with water and sewer rates. This only has to do with the impact fees and changing them to a system development charge.
Okay, so the water and sewer, the water, wastewater and water are impact fees.
So so if someone was to build or to add on, they have to buy into the system. So that's the impact fees. There's an impact to the community or to the water and sewer department because they have to buy into it. Now, we're coming in with some new system development charges instead of the impact fees. So the impact fees are gonna go away, and we'll have system development charges that are more beneficial and could be used better by the town.
And they would be assessed in the same manner, at the same time as impact fees have been in the past.
Correct,
Yeah.
correct.
So it's just a matter of creating more flexibility for the use of funds.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good way to say it.
Well, I'm sorry, they're not, in the staff report, I don't understand, and there was the fees for like a single-family home, multifamily, okay, what are those fees in the staff report?
So the cost of water for the buy-in is all based on the existing infrastructure. So we took a look at the infrastructure and what the is there for what the total cost of that infrastructure. Then we figured out what the capacity of the system was. So then we use those numbers to come up with what the cost per gallon is. So a single-family home will use X amount of water. So they use that number that was come up for, I believe sewer was 19 and water was 17.
19.
So they'll use that, so a single-family home, say, just uses 100 gallons of water a day, or that number will be multiplied onto that, and that's what they'll pay for the buy-in. So there's a schedule that is produced by the Department of Environmental Services of each, like a coffee shop, how much they use of water a year, how much a single-family home, whatever the business is. And then we use that multiplier to multiply, and that's their buy-in fee. So they multiply that number, that multiplier, that 17 or the 19, whether it's water or sewer, times what the chart says that entity uses for water. And then they pay that at that time. Yeah.
And councilors,
Can I-
I will remind folks, for the sake of minute taking and making sure things are orderly, if you could raise your hand, wait to be recognized. Councilor Waxman, thank you.
So it used, just to review it, so it used to be, like we said, $1,000, and the $1,000 came from nowhere, right? So they actually went and they calculated, like, what is the actual financial impact? And so now each person that when they get onto the water, they add onto the water line, they're actually paying the real fee, the real cost.
Other questions or comments? Councilor Blackstone.
So I just wanted to point out that this has been extensively reviewed with the planning board as well, and it was very positively received.
And Manager Fournier.
And if there's no objection, we will make the request of the planning board if this ordinance passes. I'll send a letter to the planning board.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay. If you could call the roll, please.
Council Brayback?
Aye.
Council Lamatina?
Aye.
Council Dornblut?
Aye.
Council White?
Aye.
Council Blackstone?
Aye.
Council Ward?
Aye.
Council Conley?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Excellent. Okay, next item is Resolution 2022-23-40, and that is the Ash Swamp Road Bridge Evaluation. And I would accept a motion to approve that resolution.
I'll make the motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Excellent. And is there any discussion?
Town engineer is here if anybody has any questions.
Councilor Dornbluth.
Just a quick question. What's the purpose of the evaluation, and what kind of, I imagine that there are expected findings, that since you
Yes.
are doing the evaluation.
Yes, the purpose of the evaluation is the latest inspection that DOT did on the bridge identified some deficiencies in the bridge deck. There's some spalling and some of the concrete on the edges are just cracking away, and some of the reinforcement bars are exposed. So there's a need for repair. The assessment is, or the evaluation is going to take a look at the abutments, the substructure, determine if that's in need of any repair or replacement, or if that's structurally sound, and if the only repair is to the deck, and then make some recommendations, including cost estimates for repair versus replacement alternatives, so that we can plan for that in the coming season.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments? Okay. If you could call the roll.
Council Brayback?
Aye.
Council Lamatina?
Aye.
Council Dornblut?
Aye.
Council White?
Aye.
Council Blackstone?
Aye.
Council Ward?
Aye.
Council Conley?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
And finally, Resolution number 2022-23-42, to amend the council rules to one meeting per month. And I would accept a motion to approve this resolution.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution.
And do I have a second?
Second.
And do we have any discussion? Council Ward?
Yes, I think we need to have the two meetings a month, just because we do have things that come up that, you know, have deadlines. In our last meeting, we had the veterans tax credit that had to be passed that day, and there was some discussion about, and we had to do some amendments to it, but if there's something came up and it had a deadline, and deadline was the end of the month, and we only had one meeting, we wouldn't be able to do much to amendment, we wouldn't be able to do research on it. And I do think we should have that, just that even though the meeting's short, it gives us that opportunity to review things before a deadline happens and get research before we make decisions.
Councilor Lamatina?
I agree with Council Ward, and I don't think a couple of hours a month that we're spending here is significant, and going to one meeting a month would not, I don't think it's going to attract additional people.
Councilor Blackstone?
So I made this proposal, and the reason that I made the proposal was along the lines of what Tony was talking about. I, along with many of you, tried heavily to recruit people to run for town council. One of the common comments that I got was the amount of time it takes, because it's 2 meetings a month plus a committee meeting, so it's a minimum of 3, and some councilors do 4 meetings a month. So it means, you know, once a week they're out doing something, right? And and if we had these meetings, you could say, well, they're only half an hour, 45 minutes, but you can't plan something right after the meeting. You know, you've committed the entire evening because, you know, you just don't know, right? And so a number of people have come up to me. For instance, the planning board wanted to know, why is it that nobody wants to run for town council, and they were concerned about it because, for instance, in the last planning board meeting, there were 3 people running for 2 positions. So it isn't like no one wants to be on these boards, but I think the town council is a particularly challenging one. And maybe we can make the town council more attractive if there's fewer meetings, less of a time commitment. And I know there are many towns, like, I happen to know off the top of my head, Franklin does 1 meeting a month. But there are a number of towns that do that, so it isn't like, you know, changing. And I thought if we do decide to do 2 meetings a month, at least we've decided to do it. It isn't some tradition that we just always did it and we never thought about it.
Councilor Brayback, I think you've been waiting.
The town manager raised his
Okay.
hand before I did.
Okay.
But
Yeah, just
Manager Forney.
the staff report, for some reason, isn't in the count packet. But there was a comment that, recommendation from staff, that we completely understand the situation, and it's concerning to department heads as well, that there are not a lot of candidates for council, because we also want to know who's going to be here. But we, much like Councilor Ward stated, that 1 a month would have too much of a gap between for approvals of items. I know a lot of grants that come up, we would need to bring people in quite often, and we do go down to 1 meeting a month in July and August for summer break, when it's usually slower. When I first got here, it was almost, we had the 2 council meetings a month, which would last 3 to 4 hours. Then we would have almost a workshop a week on items. So we have reduced it a lot since we got here. But to think about, and this is sort of the council as a whole, and I know former Council Weinstein and some other individuals have been approaching me about this, is that it's been 10 years since our last charter commission. And typically it's about every 10 years. Some cities and towns with a charter form of government automatically have a kick in that every 10 years you'll have a charter review commission. Our charter doesn't. But it's just the natural growth of a community, that when you change your government, usually you change slowly. You go from select board to town administrator, maybe the council, or maybe town manager, and then the next step is to look how your government's formed. And I think it's something that the council may want to consider between now and the next
town election is to put a question on it, is the time that, is the people want to have another charter commission to review the document. There's a lot of things that are, people haven't, we can't get anybody for budget committee. And the budget committee is a relic of town meeting. It's actually a subcommittee of the town meeting when you had, it was supposed to be to review the finances the selectmen proposed. Does it still have some place in our current form of government? Could, but I think it's something we need to look at. The other item is, Newmarket's the only town of its size that elects its planning board. Most planning boards in council manager form are appointed by the council. And finally, in a council manager, we still have the remnant of town meeting, which is the deliberative session, annual meeting. So I think those are things that if you had an elected charter commission, they would look at it and maybe able to figure out, okay guys, what's not working here and what can we do to change things. So, well, we completely understand Councilor Blackstone's reasoning. It's just that we think that two meetings a month, especially in busy time, maybe less than 2 meetings a month may be difficult.
Thank you. And Councilor Breakback.
Yeah, I have two main thoughts. Well, I definitely appreciate that it is a significant time commitment for sure. One is that we are paid a small stipend to be in this position. So if we were going to be cutting back the number of meetings, I would probably suggest that we amend this in some way to address that. That doesn't feel really right. That doesn't sit quite right with me. But the other issue I would have with cutting back the number of meetings is just, I think already we have a little bit of an issue with access, like for the public to access us. And I think I've brought this up in past meetings that, and no pointing fingers at any people or anything, but the town calendar is often incorrectly reflecting when meetings are happening and where they're happening. So I think by having one fewer meeting a month, it also means if that doesn't line up with someone's schedule, then it's harder for them to come talk to us. And that also sits poorly with me. So I think for those two reasons, I would probably lean towards keeping the meeting structure as it is for now. But perhaps having this commission reevaluate the structure of all of the things.
Councilor Blackstone?
So, just based on your comment, so the idea here is how do we attract more candidates? What if we voted to raise our salary, $10,000 a year or something? You think that would attract more people? Yeah.
Which I can actually say what's going on, because coincidentally, we had discussion, the managers had discussion on that recently at a meeting, because there was a community, one manager asked, what does everybody pay their elected officials? And it's a big difference. I mean, there's some that do not get paid. Some cities, it seems like the bigger you are, the less you get. Smaller communities, there are small communities with 3-member board of selectmen, but they get $10,000 a year. And but they also are in more often. They have to. I mean, you get down to the nitty-gritty of some small towns that they have to open the mail, and the more of the day-to-day items. So most people don't see the compensation of the council to serving the community.
Right.
So that's what most people were saying during that poll. Just coincidentally, we just polled the state recently, so I had an answer.
I tend to agree with folks who have spoken so far. I would be concerned by moving from 2 meetings to 1 that the business of the town would slow and the ability for the public to access the council and be heard would diminish. And both of those things, those don't sit right. So I would probably recommend that we stick with 2 as well. Councilor Dornbluth?
I would too, and I would suggest that the move to go to 1 meeting per month might be premature at this point, and it'd probably be best to evaluate a little bit more thoroughly in some way, form or shape. I don't know if a commission to review the charter is the right place for that, But picking up on what former Councillor Weinstein suggested around social engagement and how we might increase that, I think that may be a topic we should consider picking up and developing a suggestion that could flow into a commission, a charter review commission, so that we put this on solid footing and don't make a change in the hopes that it has the desired effect.
Councillor Ward.
I had a suggestion for ways to do community engagement, but I don't think that's, I think I'll save that for closing comments.
Any other comments? Okay. If you could call the roll, please.
Council Brayback?
Nay.
Council Lamatina?
No.
Council Dornblue?
Nay.
Council White?
Nay.
Council Blackstone?
Okay, I'll go nay.
Council Ward?
Nay.
Council Conley?
Nay.
Motion fails. 7-0.
Lost where we were. Okay. Thank you, everybody. The next item on our agenda is to consider nominations, appointments, and elections, and we have quite a few this evening. The first one is Ellen Reed's reappointment to the Energy and Environment Advisory Committee with a term expiring April 2026.
I'll make a motion.
Oh,
I'll second.
and
He's
is Sean
he'll
getting up
leave
to
it.
speak? Or just-
Department heads, if you need to speak, please go out in the hallway.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion or comment on that reappointment?
I'll just make I work with or I'm on a committee with Ellen. She's a very strong personality, but she's a good person for this committee. So I would highly recommend her.
Okay. Seeing no other discussion, if you could call the roll.
Council Brayback?
Aye.
Council Lamatina?
Aye.
Council Dornblue?
Aye.
Council White?
Aye.
Council Blackstone?
Aye.
Council Ward?
Aye.
Council Conley?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Okay. Next one is Alex Rentumas, and I'm going to apologize if I screw up that name, for an appointment to the Energy and Environment Advisory Committee with a term expiring April 2026. I would accept a motion to appoint that individual.
So moved.
And we have a second?
I'll second.
And any discussion? Okay.
I just
Oh,
have a
yes.
question. I just want to clarify, because I see we have 2 appointments to that committee. I just want to make sure we do have 2 spots and we're not having to okay, debate who or anything like that. Great. That's all.
That's a good question. Thanks for asking. Okay, if you could call the roll.
Council Brayback?
Aye.
Council Lamatina?
Aye.
Council Dornblue?
Aye.
Council White?
Aye.
Council Blackstone?
Aye.
Council Ward?
Aye.
Council Conley?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Excellent. And our next appointment is Benjamin Buckley, appointment to the Arts, Culture, and Tourism Commission with a term expiring of April 2025. And I would accept a motion to approve that appointment.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay.
And Buckley is in the audience if there's any questions of the candidate.
Do you want to say anything?
And Mr. Buckley, would you care to speak?
That's fine.
Okay. Any discussion or questions? Okay, if you could call the roll.
Council Brayback?
Aye.
Council Lamatina?
Aye.
Council Dornblue?
Aye.
Council White?
Aye.
Council Blackstone?
Aye.
Council Ward?
Aye.
Council Conley?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
And Mr. Buckley, it looks like you've got a couple things going on this evening. Our next appointment is Benjamin Buckley requesting a nomination from the Town Council to the Commissioner of the NHDES to be appointed to the Lamprey River Advisory Committee. And I would accept a motion to approve that.
So moved.
Second.
And is there any discussion? Yes.
I'll just say, I've worked with talked with Mr. Buckley quite a few times in the last couple of weeks. He seems like to be a very astute person, intelligent person. I think he'd be a great person for the Lamprey River Advisory Committee.
Excellent.
Just procedurally, if this happens, if the council votes, I will send a letter into the DES.
Okay. Okay, seeing no other comments, if you could call the roll.
Council Brayback?
Aye.
Council Lamatina?
Aye.
Council Dornblut?
Aye.
Council White?
Aye.
Council Blackstone?
Aye.
Council Ward?
Aye.
Council Conley?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Congratulations. Our next appointment is John Belrose for reappointment as the cemetery trustee with a term expiration of April 2026. And I would accept an appointment to approve, or accept a motion to approve that appointment.
So move.
And I will second.
And do we have any discussion? If you could call the roll.
Council Brayback?
Aye.
Council Lamatina?
Aye.
Council Dornblut?
Aye.
Council White?
Aye.
Council Blackstone?
Aye.
Council Ward?
Aye.
Council Conley?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Okay. And next is Melissa Sharples for reappointment to the Conservation Commission with a term expiration April 2026. And I would accept a motion to approve that appointment.
So moved.
I'll second.
Excellent. And any discussion? Okay, if you could call the roll.
Council Brayback?
Aye.
Council Lamatina?
Aye.
Council Dornblut?
Aye.
Council White?
Aye.
Council Blackstone?
Aye.
Council Ward?
Aye.
Council Conley?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
And our final appointment this evening is Roberta Branca for appointment to the Energy and Environment Advisory Committee with term expiration of April 2026. I would accept a motion to approve that appointment.
I will make a motion.
I'll second.
And do we have any discussion? Okay, if you could call the roll, please.
Council Brayback?
Aye.
Council Lamatina?
Aye.
Council Dornblut?
Aye.
Council White?
Aye.
Council Blackstone?
Aye.
Council Ward?
Aye.
Council Conley?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Excellent. And the next item on our agenda is resolutions or ordinances in the first reading, and this evening we have one. And it is Resolution 2022-2023-41, Stormwater Asset Management Program, called AMP. Whereas, the town of Newmarket received an offer for grant funding in the amount of $30,000 from the New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services, NHDES, to develop a stormwater asset management program, and whereas development of a stormwater asset management program will provide the town with a valuable planning and decision-making tool for use in maintaining and upgrading stormwater system infrastructure, and whereas town staff has negotiated a scope of work and associated fee for development of a stormwater AMP not to exceed $85,000, now therefore be it resolved by the Newmarket Town Council that the Newmarket Town Council authorizes the Stormwater Asset Management Program project for $85,000. In addition, the Newmarket Town Council authorizes the expenditure of up to $55,000 from the Stormwater Management Capital Reserve Fund and further authorizes the town manager to execute any documents necessary to complete the project. First reading, April 5th, 2023. And that is it for resolutions in the first reading. Under new business, first item is correspondence to the town council. Do we have any correspondence?
There was the letter I read earlier.
Okay. And is, because it was read earlier, is
Yeah,
there anything
you
we
don't
need to
have
do?
to do it
Okay. And are there any closing comments by the town councilors? Councilor Ward?
Yeah, I was thinking that one thing we could try to do for, promote more awareness or going forward would be working with Channel 13 to do little videos about what it means to be on town council. Because when I first started, even though I was a reporter here, I didn't know exactly how much work went behind the scene, and that was kind of scary for me when I was coming in. It's work, but it's not as hard. You're not reading a tome every week or so. But I think just doing some quick videos about why people joined, what our expectations are, and just kind of demystifying. It's like, okay, so this is something I can do or something I can't do. If I can be a town councilor, anyone can. So But yeah, I just think that might be something we could do with like Channel 13, because a series of videos, and we could do ones about planning board and the other boards as well. So.
It's a good idea. Other comments by the counselors? I'd just like to encourage folks to head out to the bandstand on April 30th from 10 to 1 to help clean up the town. So, it's a great time. A lot of people come out, and Tony makes it really, really easy and really convenient. Okay. Our next meeting is April 19th, 2023. And if there's nothing else, I will consider us adjourned.